Hey everyone, this is Steve, the truck insurance guy here. When our initial or first podcast labeled called Happy Truck Talk, I'm here with Rick Ruckman at Happy Trucking Inc. out of West Virginia. Hello, Rick. How are you today on Friday?
Doing fine, Steve. Thanks for having me.
No problem, no problem. Everyone, we're going to have these weekly and we're going to have different topics. This particular day, we're going to watch a couple dash cams, get Rick and myself's takes on two particular dash cams. We also are going to discuss today a broker situation that just came up with one of my other insureds this week regarding a dispute. So we can maybe start off with that if you want. As I mentioned, we got a broker dispute that one of my insureds just went through a couple of days ago. Backstory on it. Of course, I'm not going to name names, but trucking company that I've had for 30 years, actually this year. It's their 30th year and they just renewed recently. But got a distressful call from them earlier in the week where a broker, they were looking to get paid. It's been about 75 days. Broker has not paid them. They reached out to the shipper, which I'm sure happens a lot of times. You can vouch for that. Shipper said, well, we don't recognize the broker you're talking to us about. We actually paid this broker. So immediately we find out that this was a double brokered load. I'm sure it happens way too much, way too often, even though it's not right to do it, right? So the broker that my insured worked with found out that they had called the shipper because I think the shipper had reached out to them and said, or at least reached out to their broker they paid and said, hey, we got this motor carrier that hauled this freight for us almost 3 months ago, and they haven't been paid yet. Of course, that broker had said, well, let me look into this. They find out that this company out of a particular state had not paid our insured. They went out and reached out to the second broker, I should say, and they reached out to our insured about a week, earlier this week actually, and said, I don't know why you went around us, went to the shipper, but you just committed suicide. That's the exact words they told our insured. So evidently this load was booked through, and I'm going to use this name, Carrier 411, I believe, is the authority or so that our insured had gotten a notice from that they were basically blacklisted. Okay. I don't know if you ever used Carrier 411 for loads. I know there's several companies out there, but have you heard of them?
Carrier 411 is a tool, my understanding, Steve, it's a tool that brokers can use to make sure that a carrier is legitimate. A
Okay.
carrier cannot have access to Carrier 411. So the tragedy here is even though you're insured, it appears did nothing wrong. I'm sure in their due diligence and 75-day-old invoice, they had contacted that AP.
Correct.
And set the AP of the broker that owed them the money, and were maybe given the runaround. We need a printed last name of whoever signed for it, or it's not legible,
Right.
send again, or something to buy time. And so they're trying to strong arm the carrier by blacklisting them on 411. And there are ways around that from a carrier point of view, but holy good gravy, look at the extra work when the insured didn't do anything besides haul the load and want to get paid for it.
Right. I've actually got the carrier response, I guess here, or the what do they call it? Reported comments. They go on to say, that the carrier double brokered the load. It's a very serious offense. They talked about, let's see, it was the complaint, actually a complaint filed by the broker on Carrier 411. Our insured, I guess, has about 72 hours to respond. They did it immediately. When they reached out and tried to get a hold of Carrier 411, I guess the response was, let's see here. Carrier 411 told our insured, they said, don't call us, you're not a broker. As a matter of fact, then they blocked our carrier's number so that our trucking company, our insured, could not try and fight this anymore. Says here we can no longer submit anything to refute the issue. They only gave us yesterday 500 words. We did it. Just a bad situation. Our insured reached out to the Better Business Bureau and found out that this carrier 401 has an F rating. F is in Frank for all their injustices. They are, not good credit. So a lot of complaints, a lot of scenarios. Of course, I told my insured, I gave them the bond information for the broker. Okay. And I told them, go ahead and file against that bond. They were hesitant because of, potentially additional things that this broker could possibly do to them, blacklisting and stuff. But I said, try and file, because if you see that you're number 20 in line, you can show maybe Carrier 401, if you can ever get them to respond to you, that this broker makes a habit of doing this. You need to rescind, your remarks and comments on your website that other brokers use, in the industry. So tough situation. The good thing is our insured in over 25 years of business, 30 years of business, has never had any issues, okay, out there with brokers. And a lot of their brokers that they use presently know that they're taking that into consideration, and they are still getting loaded. It's the problem going forward would be, as you know, they go to a load board, they find a brand new broker that they've never dealt with. That broker doesn't know them verbatim, and they've got an issue. So I'm not sure how this is going to work out. This just happened this week, but I just wanted to get, more of your take, what you would do. Would you file against the bond yourself too? Or what would you, sit in your shoes, what would you do?
Sadly, if there is a bond, because the broker that actually, we have broker A, which is the legitimate guy. We have broker B, who is, really just trying to get the POD from the carrier with probably no intention of ever paying them.
Mm-hmm.
Who knows if broker B, even has a bond, because they
Well,
have
I
a
did. I
motor
did look it
trailer.
up. I did look it up on the Safer system and found the bond.
Okay.
So it looks like they do have an active bond.
That is good.
Yeah,
But that 75 grand will go quickly if
for
they've
sure.
done this to a number of
Exactly.
folks.
That's what I was saying. If you're 20th in line, and each load's $2,000 to $3,000, you've eaten up pretty much the whole bond at this point very quickly. So, what any other advice maybe to truckers out there that to avoid a situation like this?
Well, some of the obvious things that we've run into, we have noticed. I was working on a settlement today, and we took a load from a third party, which was different from the third party listed on the bill of lading. Now,
Okay.
in my mind, it was probably the driver's due diligence when he went to get loaded and looked at the bill of lading that he should have called me and said, "Hey, we're doing this load for ABC brokerage according to the rate confirmation sheet that you sent me." Because at Happy Trucking, Steve, we send the entire rate confirmation sheet to the driver. So they have all the numbers, they have all the information, and they can see this is ABC company we're working for.
Right.
When he
Right.
looked at the bill of lading and it said DEF, that should have been a red flag before even leaving the dock. But even so, we have run into situations before where the DEF, that broker listed on the bill of lading as who is supposed to be moving the freight, they're maybe providing the total logistics for that company, and they are farming out the truckload portion, that movement, to another third party. So it could be a little bit legit. I wish I would have found out about that before, we hauled the load and maybe addressed it while we were still at the dock. Another thing that we look for are these weird emails. You go to a big brokerage and somebody says, oh, you know what? Just email me for information. Don't call,
Mhm.
email. And it's a Yahoo or a Gmail address
Right.
instead of a
Which,
.com.
yeah, exactly.
That's a little bit of a clue. Um, and it is a shame because don't we all want to grow? Don't we all want to find new relationships? Because that's what this business is based on, is nothing more than relationships. When you're a service industry, those
Sure,
relationships are key.
exactly.
And it makes it tough to find that new third party or that new agent with the third party. And do we trust them or don't we?
No question. Now, I mean, as far as like the bill of lading and the rate con, you in the office get that before the driver does, correct? So you could do a little bit of comparing the two and seeing if the names and everything lines up correctly, right?
I don't get the bill of lading from
Okay,
the
that's
shipper.
the driver
I
does.
just get the rate confirmation from the
Okay,
third party.
gotcha. Okay, so
And
the driver would have to send you cam scan, whatever he uses to get that to you. You would have to take the time real quick, like I said, side by side, saying, "Oh, well, these numbers don't even match up." So before you leave, right? Okay, but you've instructed your drivers, trained your drivers a little bit to look out for those type things.
apparently not enough because one slipped through.
Right.
Yeah. And I'm hoping that in 30 to 45 days the money shows up in the mailbox.
Yeah, exactly. That makes sense. Yep. So, so do you? And once again, this is going to happen more to the trucking companies out there that don't have direct shipper relations, where they don't really have to worry about that situation because they're not going out to those broker boards, so to speak, to get their loads. But in any case, almost everybody, even that has direct relationships, still has to use the broker board for backhauls, probably, right? Sometimes, because I know you guys been in business for how many years now?
Oh, since 91.
Okay.
So it just seems like, 80, 100 years on some
Third,
days.
yes. So 30 in over 33, going on 33 years. The uh, what was I going to say? Shoot, the brokerage. So you've had to use, obviously, over those years, you've used the broker boards, and so does everything, and but never run into. How often is the double brokering? What how rampant is that nowadays?
It, it seems to really be increasing because something else that we have noticed is we're getting double authentication by brokers. They'll want a picture. Okay, you say you're Happy Trucking Incorporated. Send me a picture of your truck with your name on the door,
Oh wow. Okay.
which, you know, yes, that's a little bit of a added step and kind of a pain, but you really have to applaud, you know, these third parties that they're not, you know, somewhat guilty of not stopping the double brokering. So, we're finding that, almost all want to talk with the driver. They want a lot of pictures of the truck with our logo
I'm
on
surprised
it.
they don't
And
do a selfie with the driver actually sitting in front of the door of the truck and saying, "Hey, I
that,
just took this. Here it is."
yes,
That'll probably
yes,
be coming, I'm sure.
yes.
So with your your MC and DOT number and all your everything showing on the door. Wow.
And,
Huh.
in this age of social media, we have even found, strangely enough, some Facebook sites that are helping. There's a Facebook site called Rate Per Mile Masters, and it's a great way to start your day with a cup of coffee and
Okay.
read through what some of the other carriers have been experiencing, which is, you know, exactly what the story that you're telling. I've read
Right.
other folks going through,
Yeah.
and some of the other guys will jump in and say, "Hey, I had an experience, and this is what I did." And for those that can't collect the money, Rate Per Mile Masters has a great partnership with Tucker and Albin. It's a debt collection agency, and I can't say enough good things about those folks.
I'll be darned.
They absolutely, they work with you as if they're sitting alongside of you, going after the money you've earned like it's their own. And
Awesome.
yes, a percentage of it is, um, but those two tools, the Rate Per Mile Masters, which I believe has over 30,000 active members today, and Tucker and Alban Associates have really been helpful.
Awesome. Awesome. That's something I'll need to maybe reach out to them. If we're going to continue to plug them, they can plug us.
There you go.
Right?
Yes.
I didn't know we were going to get free plugs out there, but that's good. I'm glad you threw those in.
When you call Tucker and Alban, ask for Jeremy Kaufman.
Is that right?
It's
There we
Jeremy
go.
Kaufman. He is the master of collections.
And it's called, once again, the company is
Tucker and Alban, Tucker,
right.
and Alban, Albin Associates, Tucker and Alban Associates.
And they have a Facebook page too, you think? Or
I don't know if they have a Facebook page, but they are actually Rate Per Mile Masters, which is the Facebook page.
yes.
Get the Rate Per Mile Masters has chosen
To
Tucker and
partner with
Alban
them.
as
Yes.
the collection agency for them.
Gotcha. Awesome. Yep. Okay. All right. Well, before we put the close to this brokerage, any other thing you want to discuss on that? I mean, any other advice I could give to my old time insured? They're old school and they don't like to make waves. They're just, they're based out of Indiana, good people. And, they're just shocked by that someone could do that, and get away with it, so to speak. So the good thing is, once again, I said before, they've been in business long enough. They've got those relationships with a lot of their main brokers. They understand it. But if you were just starting out brand new and you got blacklisted right out of the gate, you would be pretty much done, I would think, right? And the way the
Very,
economy is right now and the way things are, wow, very hard.
yes, very, very difficult to overcome that with the
Mhm.
oversupply that we have in the industry right now, and a
Right,
lot of folks running just the spot market will
right.
make it very difficult.
Very good, very good. Well, I tell you what I'm going to do. We're going to look at a couple. I've got two dash cams. They're really quick. One of them's, let's do this here. And
One thing I will add while you're bringing up the Dashcam videos, Steve,
yes, sir. Yes, sir.
one of the things that we have learned is a lot of times things happen in business and we don't want to discuss them with others because we're ashamed. We don't want to admit to our friends and our
Yeah,
peers that, this thing happened to us. But by all means, discussing is only a good thing because we can learn from one another. We can
exactly.
really, bring information that, oh, that's what so and so tried and it worked or it didn't work.
Yep.
So, to your insured, don't put your head down and think that you've done something wrong.
Oh, yeah.
Share the information. Maybe you can help somebody else avoid that pitfall, or they'll have information once you come forward that they'll say, this is what worked for us.
Exactly. Now, can you see my screen?
Well, I see several.
Okay. What do you see? Do you
The
see?
far most right one is a truck in the hammer lane, and it looks like the camera is in the right lane.
Okay.
That
So well, you can see this screen though. So I'm going to hit play and you can see
okay.
this. Is that better?
I see the car coming up. Oh,
Okay. So, all right. So let's back that up real quick because it goes fast. So let's just bring up. So the driver obviously, to me, looks like he's not quite in that. He's like, doesn't it look like to you that he's kind of already, I don't know if the front of his truck, if he's truly in that middle lane or not, I guess he would be. the more I look at it. So he sees this car. For some reason, their dash cam system obviously zoomed right in, which is cool. What gets me is I'm assuming this is telling everybody to get over the red. Do you see the red?
It's either a sharp turn or a lane end.
Could be a curve or something. Need to slow down, maybe going into a curve or bend. But you see this driver coming in. So I mean, to me, it looks like that lane is ended or is just starting to. Okay, so immediately that driver doesn't even, the four-wheeler, we'll call it the four-wheeler, just cuts our truck off and then pulls one of these things, of course. Driver does not hit him. Gets our driver to come to a complete stop in the middle of a highway. Isn't that great?
Yeah.
So what if this was your truck, this was your video your driver just sent you, or you actually just had watched it because you keep track of this stuff? What would you how would you address that with your driver?
Well, with our video system, we would have gotten an alert for a hard braking incident.
Okay,
That would be
very good.
that would be the first thing that would bring it to my attention. Then we would go and review the video, and to have a little bit of context, I would probably ask questions such as, what is this turn?
Mm-hmm.
It is the lane ending, because you don't see any arrows saying lane end. It just looks like it's a sharp bend to the right with solar panels for lights at night.
Right.
But, did you see the car coming? Because, now AI or something has taken over and we're watching the mirror, but the driver might not have been watching the mirror. Maybe he didn't even see the four-wheeler coming up on the left. He should have.
Right. Because
checking your mirrors every 3 to 5 seconds. He should have, and
yes.
checking your mirrors twice as you're ending a lane. But then another next question might be, could you have just let off the fuel? Could you have just let the Jake kick in and let the idiot go on?
Yeah.
But that's a whole lot easier, Steve, sitting in a desk asking questions
Correct.
than the 83rd time the driver has been cut off in one day.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, if
just
you're in a
one
lot
day.
of
Just
construction,
one day. Yes.
just one day, just one day.
Well,
and
if you take a look at his speed, so he's at 23 miles an hour now. Now it zooms in. Initially, it shows 23 miles an hour. Now he's up to 30, 31, of course, 34. There's your hard brake because obviously, boy, that camera's taking a while to go down. He's a dead stop. So he went from 30, 33, 34 to a dead stop, basically. That's definitely hard brake, obviously. So, I mean,
but the driver's also to be complimented, and excuse me for
yes.
interrupting, but
Yeah.
complimented because the four-wheeler, seems to not understand he's dealing with an 80,000-pound missile, and he's wanting to antagonize our guy.
Correct.
So really want to kind of compliment the driver and say, hey, yeah, you were stopped in the middle of the road, but good thing for not taking off and trying to show him who's boss.
Right. All right. So that's that one. This one. All right. So let's bring this. Let's slow that. We'll go through first. Okay. Obviously,
Ooh.
yeah, we've got a really good one here. As our driver literally rolls the truck over. So not a lot to that one either, unfortunately, but let me slow it down here. Okay, so he's in the far left. We don't know the circumstances, the backstory. A lot of times trucks aren't allowed in the far left. So maybe that's the case. He's now, we don't know if he's using his turn signals or anything. We don't have any way of knowing that, but he's now coming over, and we can see that there's a red truck to the far right, correct?
Yes.
So this four-wheeler is now thinking, I'm coming up on this in the far right lane. This red truck, I need to get into the center lane. This big truck's trying to get in the center lane at the same time. So both vehicles are pretty darn close to the flatbed in front of them to begin with. Don't you think?
Yes.
I don't know if there's a turn signal on with this four-wheeler or not. It's obviously a smaller car, and all heck breaks loose at this point because that car is, wow. I mean, our driver's already started to barrel roll at that point. I don't know how that happened. It must be load shift, possibly.
Mhm.
Okay.
Think if you have a van trailer with some of those big drum liners in it, two or three of those massive drum liners and all of it. Oof.
So at this point, yeah, I'm assuming our tractor trailer in this case literally falls on top of that car because that car was basically being drugged alongside. Okay, so how do we address this with one of our drivers? Oops.
My goodness.
That was not a good day for anybody there.
No.
I mean, you've got liability, you've got physical damage, you've got cargo, everything.
Probably a fuel spill as well.
Most definitely, because that car was basically, yeah, it's taking a lot out of the truck.
Well,
Wow.
a couple of things jump to mind right now. First of all, this is when you would really want to have those rearward facing cameras that you see a lot of the carriers having mounted on their mirrors. And, we have forward facing,
Mhm.
in a lot of cases, driver facing, and now rearward
Right.
facing. And I know there's a lot of pushback from drivers. I don't want to be watched at all times, but a lot of times they don't realize how that can save everybody. You know, when when if especially if they have a camera that picks up sound and you can hear the turn signal on, because in this case it's almost that this dash cam is too far forward. We can't see the
Mhm.
mirrors, we can't see the lights,
Right.
we can't see what's coming up. And then, keep in mind the blind spots on the right front in the middle of that tractor trailer.
Mhm.
So hard to see. A lot of traffic, a lot of lane changing. It's hard to keep up with as he's coming over, and here's the
Right.
car.
Yeah. And once again, right, if we could see the West Coast mirror reflection, possibly we would know if that car had turn signals on. Who basically, I would assume just right there, our driver has already made his lane change. Obviously, you can see that he's probably done it about right there. He's already starting to make his move behind the semi in front of him. Now, whether or not the car obviously did not notice that, although he comes in pretty quick too. So they're both basically trying to get into that center lane at this point. Now, what would a an attorney say? I'm just trying to think if I had my attorney hat on, my car is actually ahead of your truck. Your driver should have seen my car, my client's car here, because we were definitely ahead of your truck, and you still came over and clipped our vehicle, sending my client into a spin, and your truck then topples onto my client, causing who knows how much injury and damages. So that's a tough one, like you said, and we don't know. There might be another video, obviously, that would show the West Coast mirrors, possibly. This is just what was available to us. So, yeah, at that point. Yeah, that was a long day, I'm sure, at that point. Wrecker service, ambulances, stop traffic, because that tractor trailer obviously blocked several lanes as it's rolled over. But yeah, so there we go. So 2 dash cams. Tough to say. I mean, going forward, are you opposed? Because I know you guys have a pretty good uh, service with Verizon Connect, I believe you use, correct? For
We
your
use Verizon Connect, yes.
Verizon Connect, which I think they do a pretty good job. We've obviously seen the videos in the past. You know, in the future, would you want to share some of yours? It's okay to say no.
No, we have some very good videos that you've seen. You know, we have two recent videos where we were hit by other
Right.
motorists, and that dash cam absolutely helped us
Saved.
track down the
Correct.
folks
Right.
and get us paid for the damage they did to our equipment.
Right. Exactly. I mean, we've got, do you have one that you could pull up, you think, quick? Or not? I know you had the one just recently that was, and I'll let you share the screen. I'll give you,
I don't know how to.
I
I don't know
will,
how to get it over to the podcast though.
no. I will, if I can, let's see here, one participant. Actually, at the very bottom, you see right about, you come in about 5 buttons, it'll say share screen.
Yes.
Okay, all you have to do is click it. You click that, you will be sharing your screen with me then. So try
Well,
that.
but I don't have those videos on this
Oh, that
computer.
makes sense. Okay, that makes sense. Okay. All right. That's a good point. Okay.
I'd say,
You know what? I might though.
yes, you
I
should,
might. I
because I sent
might.
them
Let
to
me,
you.
yes, you did. You did. So I don't like to pull up unless I get approval. So let me go ahead and pull one of those up real quick here. And is this it here? Okay, yes, this is the most recent one I believe that I have. I'm going to share my screen and we're going to go with that one.
Oh,
Yeah.
this is excellent.
Yes.
Excellent footage.
All right.
Yes.
So I'll let it run full speed and then we'll go ahead and 35 mile per hour. Our driver obviously is not doing that. We're coming into a toll booth area. Driver's doing what he's supposed to. He's getting over to there's 4 lanes, maybe 5 lanes, and good old camper guy says, I want to come all the way over 3 lanes into yours. Hits the front end of our truck, obviously doing some damage, does a little bit of damage maybe to his trailer, and decides, I don't think I hit anybody, and I'm just going to keep going. So walk me through, basically this whole incident and the aftermath as to what you had to do.
All right. This is approaching a toll booth on the West Virginia Turnpike, and 35 miles an hour. As Steve mentioned, we got as far over right as we could, and pickup comes on over. It did considerable damage to his trailer. Once the police finally tracked him down and stopped him, it took our front bumper and bent it almost straight out.
Okay.
So we had to get repairs on the bumper so we could continue. But
To the
notice
tune of
also,
about how much? How much was that?
well, we actually couldn't get to a shop at night. You know, this is at dusk when it happened.
Yes.
So we went to a customer location and they helped us. that's where those relationships come in again, that we
Exactly.
talked about earlier.
Right.
So anyhow, the fellow in the camper took off, and
No
we
turn
felt,
signal either, by the way. No turn
well, he
signal.
hit it for one blank. He hit it
Oh,
for
there,
one
it's
blank,
right there. Yep.
and continued. And so our driver called me and our other dispatcher, and then we had a combination of, between the three of us, trying to get in touch with the turnpike police, with the police going forward to the next town that we came into the next county, which led to the next state,
Oh boy.
before we finally got the police to find this truck and pull them over. And that's how we know there's considerable damage to the camper, because,
Okay.
you know, oh, this guy hit me and tore the front bumper straight forward. You should see the marks on the camper. It was pretty obvious. And we were able to get his insurance information. And this is a very interesting part of this story, Steve. When we approached his insurance company and said, "You're insured in our vehicle, and we need to have our vehicle fixed, and you're insured, pay for it," the insurance company flat denied us. Sorry, no, nobody hit you. You don't have any proof.